Hi everyone and welcome. Today we will talk about living in the flow. What does it mean? And I will share my experience. What does it mean to me to live in the flow? So flow comes from the soul, and the flow brings things and experiences and even people our way. And a lot of times we feel like we need to struggle, we need to fight for certain things in life, and we live accordingly. And this is actually our inner resistance. Now, I have read one quote that I really liked, is that when we create things from our heart, things just flow to us. But when we try to create from our head is when we usually mess it up. And it makes sense because we can't control flow. So in order to live in the flow, one must learn to surrender to their own soul. And how does that look like? Let me share one experience. When I was traveling through Scotland with my friend, I really wanted to see one castle. And that castle was, for some reason, very important to me. I could already envision myself there. I knew what kind of experience will I have there. And then it was like one of the most important sites that I wanted to see there. And that castle was a bit outside of reach, and it was almost impossible to get there. Now, I remember we were trying to get a cab, but it was impossible because nobody wanted to take us there. I guess it didn't make sense for them. And I started panicking. Oh my God, I'm not going to be able to see this. And I literally traveled here only to see this castle. And I could see in my body how I became frustrated and agitated and angry. And then at one point, I was like, okay, you know what? I give up. I don't need to see this. I really don't care. I actually have to mention that I was traveling through Scotland. It was an inspiration for the fantasy book that I was writing, and I really wanted to see that castle as an inspiration. And the fantasy book that I'm writing, the main character is a unicorn, and Scotland's national animal is a unicorn. So then I realized I'm not gonna see this castle, and I gave up. And I was just, okay, so whatever happens from this moment forward, I literally don't care. I'm just gonna be in the flow. If things happen, okay. If not, it's gonna be okay either way. And that moment of giving up the expectation was so important, because later what happened was pretty magical. I said to my friend, you know what, whatever you want to do, we can do that. I really don't care anymore. And I really wasn't in this state of despair. I was really fine with whatever happens. I'm still in Scotland with my friends, so things can't go wrong, right? I'm just gonna use another inspiration for my book. And as we were walking, all of a sudden something magical happened. We accidentally ran into the coat of arms where the unicorn picture was. And that moment was a reminder why I travel there, and how I don't need to see a castle in order to feel the inspiration. But that coat of arms with the unicorn on it gave me so much vision for my book. And I was like, oh my God, but this is what I wanted to see. This is what I needed from this trip. And I have received it. It just wasn't in the same sense that I was expecting to receive it. Do you know what I mean? And that was actually pretty magical. And this is a really simple example. Now, true flow goes even deeper than that. Not just inspiration for a book, but for people, relationships, work that we do. When we truly surrender is when things start flowing. And usually from our ego self, we feel like we need to meet our expectation and somebody else's expectations. And we want to preserve that identity. So for me, that was, for example, I wanted to be seen as a good person and as a good girl. So every time somebody would ask me for a favor or to be there for them, I couldn't say no. And I was there for other people. But I wasn't feeling it in my heart that I should be there for somebody. Maybe I was even doing them harm. Maybe they needed to learn how to take responsibility. And every time I was being there for someone for the sake of being a good girl, which is actually my own manipulation, that people would usually turn their backs on me and I would end up drained. But when I was in the flow, I would meet people, I would come across people and just share deep moments with them without any even scheduled meeting. We would just ran into each other and we would have this tremendous beauty of our connection. And I know that they have received a lot, and I have also received. And in a way, I was even more present with them, and I gave them more than what I could have given to people where I was out of my flow. The flow comes from our soul. And how can you be more in the flow? I said, important thing is to surrender your entire life to your soul, to your inner divinity. And I know that is not an easy task because our ego, and we are wired to worry. We're wired to make plans. We're wired to have expectations, to know where we're going. And being in the flow means that we literally don't know where we're going, but we trust. And I can give you one more example. I feel like I'm in a good health, and I was feeling in good health for a long time. But then there was a voice inside of me. You know what? You should maybe do a medical checkup. Maybe there's something. And I was like, okay, that will be done. And I did a medical checkup, and it turns out that I had a high cholesterol. No, this was nothing extremely. It was just a little bit higher than what it was supposed to be. But I was like, yes, thank you, flow. It's good. Now I can make some changes because before this becomes a condition, I can even look in the emotions that are underneath. Why am I building this cholesterol in my body? And you know, flow can sometimes even confuse us because we're maybe thinking, I don't see it. I feel the flow, but things are not showing up. They're not happening. We may feel like we're in love with life, but then we're single. But it doesn't have to mean anything because it's one thing that we're expecting and a whole nother that is good for us, that is actually in service to us. And maybe we will connect the dots only in the future when we will be able to look back. But you know, your body knows what flow feels like. And you just need to remind yourself of that. And maybe you do feel disconnected and you think, what is she saying? Of course I can't feel my flow. I'm like in this constant struggle or shutdown inside of me. But this is your natural state of being. And it's only a matter of reminding yourself about the flow. And you know, flow does not need to come in something extremely magical. It can come in something rather simple, as you should do a medical checkup. And these are just my examples, and I'm sure you have your own. And really ask yourself, ask your body, what was it like when I was truly in the flow? Did I maybe perhaps accidentally meet somebody I fell in love? Did I get a job opportunity when I was in my flow, when I really didn't care about that? And really notice inside of yourself the difference when you are in the flow and when you're out of it, and how things happen in your life. And it's interesting because to truly surrender, it takes courage. It doesn't take courage to fight. It takes willpower, yes, but not courage. True courage is to surrender. And you can practice surrendering every day. And you can notice these moments when you have this, oh, I need to control, I need to plan, or why is this not happening for me? It's actually self-abuse when you're constantly asking yourself, why are things not happening for me? And to truly surrender to your flow is when you feel the magic of life, when life starts serving us, when life starts supporting us and being there for us. And I really hope that after this video you do maybe notice certain patterns, how you're out of your flow, and you already know how to come back to your flow because you know that. And I actually have a guided experience about the flow, which can maybe serve you if you feel that. And I will leave you the link in the description of this video. And I don't know, maybe if this video is the highest quality because there's some construction work right behind me, but I decided to record it anyway, and just to be in my flow, not wait for the perfect moment, but to just allow whatever is and to show up. And I hope that this video was serving you. And thank you, and I will see you soon.